Welcome to Wine Soundtrack USA. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello, friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack. This is Allison Levine, and today I am in the very hot Lodi Valley with Gerardo Espinosa, who is the COO of Lodi Crush and the winemaker of Anaya Vineyards. And we've popped open a little refreshing Albarin to get us started. But Gerardo, welcome, and tell us about Anaya Vineyards and where we are today, which is Lodi Crush.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being here. And so my name is Gerardo, like you just mentioned. And we just opened our 2021 Albarin. It's Clements Hills AVA. Very nice and refreshing. And it's actually being aged in barrels. So it's going to be a little bit more mineralities in the wine.
Nice.
So, we are actually sitting in our lounge at Lodi Crush. So this place we opened about a year ago, the front portion. Lodi Crush has been in business for about 5 years. We've been making wine for about 20 different brands, and including my brand, which is Anaya Vineyards.
And tell us a little bit about Anaya Vineyards. What do you make?
Yeah, so Anaya Vineyards, it's actually... I'm the owner and actually the winemaker, 100%. And basically, I'm a third generation farmer. So my family's been in the farming business for 3 decades already.
Here in Lodi?
My grandfather immigrated from Mexico in the 1940s and worked as a farm laborer. And throughout the years, he made and saved money, purchased land in the Clements area. And my uncles are the ones that planted the vineyards after they finished their universities, their degrees in Mexico. I immersed myself after having a career in the architectural field. Worked as a project manager for multiple years in this area. I started making wine as a home winemaker, and then it became Anaya Vineyards, the actual brand. Yes.
Wow. And when did you start Anaya Vineyards?
So I started making wine back in 2007. The brand, before Anaya Vineyards, I had a brand. It was called Viñedos Aurora, which it was in honors of my grandmother, Anaya. Actually Aurora is her first name. Viñedos is vineyards, so it's it was actually after her, honoring her, and the whole brand is actually honoring the family, honoring our heritage. So Anaya Vineyards, that's what I'm trying to do, just showcasing the family heritage.
Fantastic. Yeah. And you said your grandfather first planted the vineyard. So how many acres do you have, and what do you have planted? What are you working with?
Yeah, so my uncles planted the vineyards, and they planted the first 2 varieties that they planted was Cabernet Sauvignon and Petit Syrah. Those were
very typical here for Lodi.
Very popular back then as well. So that was back in the early 80s. And then throughout the years, once I immersed myself, I started exploring with different varieties. And I decided to talk to the family to plant some of the unique varietals, like, for example, Tempranillo, Albarin that we're going to be tasting today. We have Nebbiolo, which is a very unique variety for California itself, and actually the U.S. And then we have Tempranillo as well, and Pinot Gris.
Wow. And how many acres total do you have planted?
So we have about 180 acres total.
Wow.
Yeah.
180 acres?
Yes, that's about, so we have 2 different properties in Clements area. And the smaller blocks, the unique varieties that I just mentioned, those are smaller blocks. They're about 2 acres to 5 acres each. Yeah.
So you're selling fruit, or are you making all of it?
No, so the majority of the fruit, which is the Petit Syrah and Cabernet Sauvignon, goes to a different larger production winery. But the smaller blocks that we have are pretty much for our brand, or we share some of the fruit to some of the local small producers as well.
Wow. And what's your total case production?
So right now we're under Anaya Vineyards. I'm producing about 1,800 cases. It's a small brand. We're hoping that in the next 2-3 years, I'll make it bigger, you know.
And for now, the wines are available here in the tasting room, or are they available in any other markets?
Yes. So we have it here at the tasting room. We sell online. We have it by allocation. So sign up on our mailing list through our website. Mm-hmm. And when we release the wines, that's when we send the email for people to purchase the wines. We're starting to open the market in different restaurants. Southern California, San Diego has been very attractive to the brand. So that's where we're focusing our brand out of Southern California.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. You said that you're a third-generation farmer, and that did you grow up here in Lodi?
Literally, pretty much all my life. I came to the U.S. or immigrated to the U.S. When I was in end of high school. Okay. Finished my high school here in Lodi. I decided not to do the farming. I wanted to do, more of a office work, and I love architecture, so that was my profession for a long time. But the roots were in the farming.
So I'm curious, what is your first memory relevant to wine?
Yeah, so the first memory, it's actually been in the vineyards. I remember since they planted the first vineyard, and like I said, that's back in 80s. Mm-hmm. Literally was just seeing my grandfather out there pruning every year, taking us as kids, to help him. That was literally that's probably the best memories that I have had. And then after that, I started, once I knew what the grapes were producing, wish it was wine. That's when I really immersed myself into the wine.
So is there one particular wine or an experience that was one of those aha moments for you that kind of either set you on the path that you decided that you were going to give up architecture and become a winemaker, or maybe just, enjoying wine?
Yes, absolutely. So like I said, I started making wine for our, as a home winemaker literally in my garage. I created the first barrel, which was a Petit Syrah, out of our vineyard, Viñedos Aurora, and I remember that we all liked it. I was giving it away to families and friends. The bottles, we bottled it. We did everything ourselves. And then I decided to enter the State Fair Home Winemakers Competition. I won a double gold. Wow. Right? So I was like, all right, I did something right. I did something good. And that's what literally this kind of made my mind to open a brand, to start a brand. And, and I start talking to multiple friends and families about, let's just open a brand and start, talking to other winemakers, hey, what's it take to open a brand, or what I need to do. And the nice thing about Lodi is that I can go talk to any winemaker literally and knock on the door, and they will open it and they will talk to you.
That's great. That's community.
Yes. Yes.
And so I love the fact that one of your first aha moments was making your own wine and winning awards. If we were to come to your home today, what kind of wines do you have in your cellar, in your collection, in your refrigerator? Is it all Lodi wines? Is it your own wines, or is it certain grape varieties, certain regions or producers?
Yeah, one of the things that I always say about myself, I like to explore. I like to find different styles, find different unique varieties. So if you go to my cellar, you will find a good variety of different wines from all over the world. I like to explore. Right now I'm in a trend of finding what's the natural wine, and that's the trend that everybody's talking about. So I'm drinking a lot of natural wine classification wines. I don't know if they are natural, but I just wanted to see the style, and also I do that because with Lodi Crush, I have clients asking me, hey, would like to do a full cluster fermentation, and I don't want to use no additions. I want to go as natural as possible. Okay, well, let's, so that's kind of been literally my school, kind of just drinking the wines and exploring the styles and finding out what the style is supposed to taste like. And by doing that, it's just by opening bottles.
And so is there anything you opened up recently that tasted really, really good?
Yes, you know what? I just got back from Mexico, and I was able to meet with a Michelin star chef in Oaxaca, Mexico. And she started her own brand, in Valle de Guadalupe. So she asked me to try her Grenache Blanc, which is natural wine.
We're not seeing the quote marks he's
Right.
using here.
Yeah. So I said, hey, you know what? This is perfect because I'm just exploring this new style. I said, well, I'd like to try it. So she actually poured a glass of wine for me, and it was nice. I liked it. It was very nice and refreshing. But to me, those wines have a little bit of oxidation. And a lot of the wines that I've been drinking with that style, and this wine in particular didn't have that. You know, it was a little bit more fresher, a little bit more, you can taste the yeast, you can taste the wild yeast in the wine, but it was a nice wine. I was very surprised with it. Yeah.
A Valle de Guadalupe wine.
Yeah.
Some good wines coming from there.
Absolutely, yes. That's where we got the idea of planting Nebbiolo in Lodi. My uncle, actually, we go a lot to Mexico, and my uncle was in Valle de Guadalupe, Mexico, and he started tasting Nebbiolos. So we noticed that there was no Nebbiolos planted in this area, so we were like, all right, let's plant, a couple acres and see what it does.
It's very curious. Nebbiolo doesn't usually like heat.
No. The nice thing about where we are, which I think is growing, that's why we've been very successful where it's growing, is because we're right at the beginning of the hills, which is the Clements Hills AVA. And we get a lot of the Delta breeze. So we get a lot of hot days, but then we have a lot of drop on the temperatures at night. So we can be 100 and then at night it can be 60.
Wow.
So it's like a 40-degree difference during the heat season.
Which allows your wines to have a lot of acidity.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So, do you think there's a such thing as a perfect variety?
I don't think so. I think every variety is unique, and I think every variety, for me, it's a unique wine, and not just the variety, but the style, the winemaking style. It's unique. So I think we can all be. We do this all the time. I sell to other producers producing the same variety, grapes, and I taste their wines against mine, and they're unique. And nothing wrong with either of the wines, but they're just unique wines.
So no sense of perfection. So I'm curious, as a wine drinker, red, white, or rosé?
Depending on the mood.
Still or sparkling?
I prefer sparkling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those were easy questions.
Yeah, they were.
So I'm curious, when you're tasting all these wines, you're an equal opportunist with your red, white, and rosé, depending on the mood. Yeah. What about depending on the food? How do you approach food and wine pairing? And do you follow rules? Do you break rules? Do you have rules you can share with us or guidelines?
I do all of them, right? I break rules. I majority break the rules. But I am very particular with the wines once I'm at the table. I try to do as close as possible the pairing, but I just believe that each palate is different, and I can be drinking an Albarin with a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and I will enjoy it, and there's nothing wrong with that. So to me, I don't think we have to put ourselves as or believe that there has to be rules. I think you should enjoy it the way you want to, and that's actually one of our newer brands that I just started. It's a canned wine. It's under Los Cuernos Wines, and the concept with that is that there's no rules. So yeah.
Drink out of a can, and pair it with anything.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
So, what do you think that, you're a small brand. You're trying to get your name out there. You can build a following locally, but how do you get your name out beyond? And what do you think the role of wine critics and scores play in that for someone like you, or just in general in how you look at wine?
Yes, and I think they're important for the brand when they're starting, and not just when they're starting, but I think they're important to get them reviewed. A lot of the times, what I have done myself is I get too stuck with the same wine every year, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's selling, but then I want to be since I've been in the architectural side of it, I like to get critique. So I do the same thing with my wines. I like to submit these wines to particular competitions or magazines for reviews, because I like to get feedback of, where I'm at, or what kind of score I'm going to be getting, depending on the wine.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe you won't change your style, but it'll give you some context.
Yes, absolutely. And like I mentioned earlier, I like to explore. I like to be creative, and I like to stay on top of what people are liking, So yeah, I think that's probably the main reason, why I do that. But at the same time, I like to know that if one of the wines is getting low scores, or is getting why is it getting those those scores, so that's why I do it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So for somebody who hasn't had the pleasure to taste your wines yet, what do you think they're missing out on?
So again, these wines are 100% truthful to the variety, truthful to the vineyards, to the soils. I don't do no blending, very low. I don't like to use the word natural in my wines, but I like to use the word low intervention. So they're very low. I try to stay away with any additions from the vineyards all the way to the winemaking. So that's one of the main keys that I like to promote about the wines, that you're going to taste truthful to the variety. Now I do play a little bit with the winemaking. So like, for example, this wine that we're tasting, it's an Albarinho. Typically Albarinos are fermented on stainless steel tanks. This one in particular, I like to do it in barrels. So I like to ferment it in barrels and let it age for 12 months in the barrel before I bottle it. And then even after that, I like to let it age a little bit on the bottle before I release it. So, that's just a different style that I'm trying to bring, so again, bringing that high acid, or those acids, a little bit of crispy, but it's a little more minerality in the wine, so you can enjoy it in a nice hot day, or you can enjoy it under the fireplace.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So the train just went through the town of Lodi, right across. The train tracks are right across the street from your tasting room, and we heard the train go by, and some space aliens got off the train. They came in via train this time, and they walk up to your door. Which of your wines would you want to say, welcome to, Anaya Vineyard? Welcome, and taste my wines.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would probably get them started with an Albarino, or probably get them the Pinot Gris, which the Pinot Gris is a skin contact fermented. So let it sit on skins for about 36 hours before I press it. So I destem the fruit and throw the stems back to the skins, and then I press it all 36 hours later. So that brings you little bit more tannins, little bit more acids, and then also a little bit of color. So that's always a fun wine, because people get intimidated. This is this looks like a little copper, or like a little orange wine, but it's not. It's just the style. Yeah.
So you're going to welcome them with something a little weird, a little different, but textured and fun.
To me, that just gets them motivated. Okay, so what else you have? And then I start pulling out all the other wines and start showcasing all the other brands. Yeah.
So we're here. You said you have 180 acres. I can't speak right now, but it's a big number. Do you spend a lot of time in the vineyard?
I do. That's probably where my winemaking comes out of. I have a good mentor, and with her, we spend a lot of times in the vineyards. So her philosophy, which is now my philosophy, is the wine has to be produced in the vineyards. So I like to, even with my clients in Lodi Crush, I like to visit the vineyards before they bring the fruits, or before we even commit to make the wines for them. I would like to see how the farming procedures are. I like to see how the fruit is going to look before it gets to the winery. My goal with that is to bring the fruit in and just babysit the wines through, and not have to manipulate the wines at the winery.
So in the years that you've been now managing the vineyard and making wine, we know every vintage tells a different story, and you're trying to make wines that express the grape. But how much variation do you see year to year in a place like Lodi?
Yeah, particularly the last couple of years, the weather's been crazy. So it's been all over the board, to be honest. So yeah, I mean that's probably the last couple of years has been very unpredictable for us, or for me, for myself, just because I like to stay truthful to the variety and to the soils and to the to the climate change that we have.
Previously, was it more consistent, or has it always given you sort of a run for your money?
No, I think it has been. It was a little bit more consistent. I mean, the last couple of years we've been seeing wet years, we've been seeing hot years. Who knows how this year is going to be? We're already seeing the heat, so I mean, it's going to be a dry year. So we might have to have the fruit picked earlier. And not enough. Probably not enough ripeness. I don't. So all of that is just going to be part of the fun. When we're going to pick.
Are there any sort of signs or omens that you look for that tell you what a vintage is going to give you?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is. I think there's always during variation. That's when we start seeing how the fruit is going to come out. I mean, or what we're going to be looking. This year, I think we seen that the vines are a little bit heavier with fruit, so we've been doing a lot of thinning. But I think it's going to be a good year. I think we have enough water in the soils, and obviously this heat is not helping a lot. But I think it's going to be I think there's going to be a balance. So
all signs point to a good harvest, but we never know.
We never know, exactly. Yes, who knows? It might rain tomorrow.
So I'm curious, do you, since you are making your wine in the vineyard and you spend a lot of time in the vineyard, do you have a tendency to walk through the vineyard and talk to your vines?
If I have to tell you the truth, probably. Probably. I try not to do it when people's around. They're going to be thinking that, what is this crazy guy doing out there? But that's a good. I'm going to tell you a little story because my uncle, he knew that I was coming to the vineyard one day, and it was early in the morning. It was through right before harvest, so I'm walking through the vineyard and I hear someone singing, and I got closer and closer, and it was my uncle. I didn't know who it was, so I was like, oh, he's just, and he was just singing through the vines, So I asked him, I said, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm singing to the vines. Aww. So yes. So
do you sing to the vines?
I haven't done it, but I have seen it.
So do you have any, aside from your uncle singing to the vines, do you have any sort of good luck rituals that you do at the start of harvest, whether it's you personally or for you and your team?
I try to do like a pre-harvest dinner, but typically my family, my uncles, we're pretty close. I think our main, it's during the first pick, we all get together at the vineyard, even if it is a machine pick or if it's a hand pick, we all are there at the vineyard, and typically we stay there after the harvest, after the workers leave and everything, and open few beers or bottles of wine, and that's been pretty consistent. Like every year we do pretty much do the same. Yeah,
family tradition.
Yes, and it's not like I think it's just natural. That we just all meet there. We know that it's going to be the first pick, and we just all meet there. And someone brings the beer, someone brings the wines. Especially, I mean, obviously I bring the wines. They're expecting the wine from me. But yeah, that's typically what we do before harvest, and we do it also at the end of harvest. At the end of harvest, I try to do a barbecue for the family and for the workers every year.
Fun.
So yeah,
you got to start with wine and food and end with wine and food.
Exactly. Yes.
And then eat in between.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So when you were little, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you always want to be an architect? Is that what you knew you wanted to do, or did you have other aspirations?
No, I always knew that I wanted to be an architect. Yeah, I always did.
And do you miss being an architect?
I do, but it's funny because now I'm taking architecture into winemaking. Mm-hmm. So I'm designing my own wines. I'm designing wines for other clients. I'm helping. I'm pretty active, so I like to help a lot with the graphic design portion of it, or with the image of the brand. So I think the creativity is still there, but now it's in a completely different industry. But I do kind of like. compare it all out to the architecture side of it.
And when you're not working making your wine or wine for 20 other people, what do you like to do in your free time?
I like to swim a lot. I'm a big swimmer. I like to swim, and I like to bicycle. And now with my son, we've been riding a lot of motorcycles. So he just turned 18, so he just bought his own motorcycle. So we've been riding a lot with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think your son's going to follow in your footsteps?
Yes, I think he already is.
Really?
Yes, he's already working in the back and helping me with the winemaking. I'm giving him 2 years to go work somewhere else before he comes back and works for me.
Got to train him somewhere else so that they don't take you for granted.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So, do you have a sports team, I should say? Are you a big soccer fan, a big American football fan, or basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing soccer, and I've been watching soccer since I remember. That's been just in our. I like European soccer.
Who's your team?
Real Madrid.
Yeah. Going into the finals here.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, if Real Madrid was to win the Euro Cup or any of the big championships, which of your wines would you want to present them with to say congratulations?
Oh, I will have to stay with the Tempranillo, right?
It's a Spanish grape.
It's a Spanish grape. And I will start with the Albarin and finish with the Tempranillo. Yes.
So when you look back at your life, people give us advice all the time, teachers, parents, mentors. Is there a piece of advice that somebody gave you at any point in your life or career that you carry with you and try to live or work by?
Oh my God, yeah, that's a good question. I think I have gotten so many good advices throughout my life, but I think on the business side, I will have to say that Mark Nerdine, my partner at Lodi Crush, he's been very helpful with the business side. He's very successful on his own business, and but I think between him and Heather Pyle, which is on the winemaking side, I think both of them are been very. I mean, I don't recall one in particular advice in particular, but I think they are the ones that I can consider my mentors on both sides of my business. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you could give a piece of advice to our listeners today, what kind of advice would you want to give them? If you can't tell me something you live by, what can you share in return?
I think the main key for any type of business is perseverance, and have a plan, always find a mentor. I think to me that's been probably my main key, finding the right person to help me when I don't have the tools maybe, or when I don't have the knowledge, finding the people, those persons or those mentors to help you see things different, and not just get stuck on one thing.
Well, it seems like your mentors gave you advice through action, not by words.
I think both of them, right? Yeah. I mean, I think it's been both. I think with with Heather, she's been, we've been with actions, and then also we when we taste the wines, it's just. We typically sit down periodically and taste throughout the wines in the cellar and see how they're developing, and so I think both, Yeah.
So when you look back at your career, and this can go back into architecture as well, what would you say is one of your proudest achievements so far?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think having my own brand has been one of my proudest achievements, and being able to showcase my family's heritage. I think that's probably been one of the biggest. Being able to say that this brand was or is in honor of my grandfather. Yeah.
Well, I'm now going to ask you a thought-provoking question after you mention your grandfather, but we're sitting at a very big table here as the train goes by yet again. But we're sitting at a very big table here. We've got a glass of your wine on the table. And I'm curious, there's an empty seat sitting next to you, and who from any walk of life, living or deceased, famous or not famous, would you want to be sitting there drinking a bottle of Anaya wines with?
Yeah, I think, I will have to say the first person will be my grandfather, right?
Did he ever get to taste your wine?
Oh, yeah, he did. Him and my grandmother, they've been gone for quite a bit, but I think they did taste the wines. My grandmother was on my early stages in the career but she was able to see her brand, the first brand that I did for her, or honor of her. But if I have to say who I want to be sitting next to in the out of the world, who would that be? I don't know. Yeah, I think
if it comes to you, you can let me know.
Yeah, I think I have too many people in mind.
So complete this sentence for me. A table without wine is like
having no dinner.
Yeah. Now I'm hungry.
No, me too. Yeah. That's one of the things that I say. You know what? Why wine? I said I think it's part of just our. For us is for my family and myself, including myself. I have to have it at dinner. So when I do my wines, I'm always comparing it. What I'm going to pair it with. What I'm going to drink this wine with. And that's so I think it's very, very important for me when I do the wines, what I'm going to be able to pair it with, so I think, speaking for myself, I think there's always a bottle of wine at dinner.
Yeah. So we're sipping this Albarin. What would you pair it with?
Peanut butter and jelly. No. No, I think this wine is. It's one of those wines that I can say seafood, because that's the traditional, right? Albarin, nice, crisp. But I think it's also very minerality. I think a nice cheese will go good with it, Yeah, but if there's something that I can say, because I just had it not too long ago, a fish taco.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, you were talking about how, the last few years have been kind of crazy with the climate. It's, Mother Nature has kind of thrown some shockers, in extreme directions of rain to heat. And we know that climate change is happening. You think we'll be drinking wine in 300 years, making wine in 300 years?
Absolutely. I think we're gonna be adjusting ourselves to the Mother Nature. Yes, absolutely. I think wine has been forever in our history, or I think, and it's not going nowhere. Yeah. And
if somehow the world was ending and you were going off to a deserted island somewhere, what 3 wines would you want to take with you? Any wines. They can be yours or anything else. They can be grapes, places. What 3 wines? Do you know?
Yeah, I think so. I think I will bring. I love Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo is probably one of my favorite.
From where?
Piemonte. Yeah, Piemonte. And Lorraine. I think I will bring a Nebbiolo. I like Cabernet Sauvignons. That's just the king of the grapes, or the king of the wines. So I like a nice cap. I don't like a big cap, but I like a very nice French style wine, Cabernet Sauvignon. Which other variety? I don't know. Probably those 2.
2 reds.
2 reds. Yeah.
Okay, well, I know those questions sort of throw you off a little bit, so I'm going to throw you one more question. One more. It's just as we come to an end, we're going to have a little fun here. Yeah. You've been having fun so far, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Throw those questions.
Okay, so we're going to ask one more. We're going to play our little game at the end now where we're going to pair wine with music. It's called Wine Soundtrack, right? So wine and soundtrack. So I want you to tell me the soundtrack you want to pair with your wines. Let's start with your Albarino.
Ooh, Albarino. Okay, so Albarino. I think we were talking a little bit about it. Salsa, maybe, the genre salsa. Some merengue. I think it goes good with it. Yeah.
Nice. Your skin contact Pinot Gris. Ooh. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, that's a little bit more on the what can I pair it with? Maybe like a alternative kind of, a little bit of the pad, like maybe some slow rock and roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your Tempranillo.
Tempranillo, I mean, traditionally, I think I will say flamenco. Flamenco. But I think that in Mexico we call it trova, which is more like a guitar plays, like a solo. Yeah.
Okay. And Lodi Nebbiolo.
Lodi Nebbiolo, that's a wild one. I think that one I like. To me, that's like a party wine. I don't know, because it's a light wine in color, but high tannins, high acids, right? And it ages longer. So I mean, I will have to say that one's a little bit more like a, I don't know, like a classic, not classic, maybe like a classic rock kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, not so bad.
Yeah.
You got different styles of music with different styles of wine.
Yeah. It's everywhere.
It's all about diversity.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, Gerardo, you survived. You did great.
Ooh,
See? You can take a deep breath now.
Thank you. Yeah, I needed it.
So I have one last question, and it's a pretty simple one. It's got two parts to it. The first is, I know you just got back from Mexico. I know you've been to Valle de Guadalupe. You've explored wine regions. What wine region is the top of your bucket list that you want to get to and explore?
Oh, yeah. I do want to go and explore Italy.
Yeah.
And that's in April.
You're going?
Yeah, I'm going.
You're going to check off your bucket
I'm
list.
going to check out my bucket list. That's been in my since we planted the first the vineyard, the Nebbiolo. I said I need to go to Italy, and I haven't had a chance. I've been tasting a lot of wines from different regions in Italy, but I haven't actually been there. And I think me and my girlfriend are going to go in April and explore Italy. And
Nice.
The first region that I want to try is probably Piemonte. Yes.
Sounds like a plan.
Yes.
And the other part of the question is, if someone wants to come and taste your wines, how can they find you? Where can they find you? Tell us.
Yeah. So Lodi Crush, like I mentioned earlier, is a custom crush facility. We're making wines from multiple brands, but the front portion, which is, we call it the lounge at Lodi Crush, we are showcasing 4 different brands, including mine or plus mine. So it's five brands total. So we're in the middle of the heart of downtown Lodi, 21 East Elm Street. We have a website, we have Instagram, the lounge at Lodi Crush. You can find us either way. And for Anaya, you can buy online. And again, look into your local restaurant, you might find it there.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Well, Gerardo, thank you for joining us on Wine Soundtrack. It is a charming tasting room. It is in downtown Lodi, which is a charming little town. And it's nice and air conditioned in here. So if you're here in the summer when it's 100+ degrees, you can have a refreshing glass of Albarin, some air conditioning, and chill out in this super cool space. Gerardo, thank you for joining us, and I hope you had a good time, and I'll say cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. And hope to see you back again soon.
For sure.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack USA. For details and updates, visit our website, winesoundtrack.com.